Joining us online is Ward Connerly. He's founder and chairman of the American Civil Rights Institute, was one of the forces behind Proposition 209 for the California State Constitution, which passed in 1996, prohibits California governments from discrimination and preferential treatment based on race. Now, California is seeking to completely overturn it with something called Prop 16, which would repeal that wording from the Constitution. Of course, California claiming it's all for the sake of diversity. Ward Connerly, thanks for joining the Ben Shapiro Show. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'm honored.
So why don't you start by explaining what exactly Prop 16 does? I'm old enough to remember when Prop 209 passed. I'm old enough to remember when the state wasn't completely out of its mind. Now, apparently, it's time for Proposition 209 to be rescinded, even though, by the way, UCLA and the UCs have basically been engaging in soft form affirmative action for literally decades at this point.
Yes, they have. And I happen to have served a 12-year sentence, as I call it, on the Board of Regents, and so I'm familiar with the things that they are doing to achieve this vision of diversity, which is just code for we need more black people and brown people. They are being pressured, the regents are, and the administration are being pressured by the Latino caucus, which is the dominant political force in the legislature, to get more of, quote, their people into UC Berkeley, UCLA, and UC San Diego. And the tool of affirmative action is their primary method of doing that. If this all stopped at the doorstep of the university, however, the damage wouldn't be as great as it is now, because it is now morphed into the university, into employment, public contracts, where the minority contractors who have lost their Meeby-Weeby programs really feel that they're taking a loss by the absence of race preferences being used. And it's just gone into the culture of California, so much so that you can't breathe around here without race being brought into the equation. And the interesting thing is that in order to convince the people of California that they should rescind Proposition 209, they're having to elevate the consciousness of race that the people have. And California is not a racist state. It is not controlled by white supremacists, whatever that term means. But we are on the verge of being controlled by of color politics. And I think that's going to probably forever damage this state. And I'm trying to do all I can to fight this. We're outnumbered. We're outnumbered in terms of dollars, because they have largely two billionaires, Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix, and a billionaire black real estate developer who are funding this. And so they start off with about $2.5 million. The contributions of each of those was $1 million, and then the black billionaire kicked in another $500,000. So $2.5 million of their 3.7 is coming from these billionaires for preferences, if you will. And I think we have about 500,000 in the kitty, and we don't have much time to wage the fight. Race is no longer a moral issue. When I was growing up as a young kid from the Deep South, Louisiana, I had on my side the reality that most Americans really didn't want discrimination. It was a moral issue. Now it's a political one, and it bleeds out of every pore of our society, and we have to defeat it. We just have to defeat it. So I'm very grateful to you for engaging on this issue.
Again, Ward Connerly is helping run the campaign against Proposition 16, which is really a cheap and easy way for the state of California to pretend that it's forwarding the aspirations of minority Americans, while, again, enshrining discrimination into civil rights law in California. This has been a long-going battle in the state of California. The officials here have constantly been seeking racial preferences since my teenage years, and now it appears they're on the verge of victory, repealing a popular proposition once again. California used to be a more reasonable state, no longer. Ward Connerly, founder and chairman of the American Civil Rights Institute, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate what you're doing. If you want to help them out, go check them out right now at the American Civil Rights Institute. Ward, appreciate the time.
Thank you.